Okay, in this episode of Amateur Sound Editing, we're going to talk about a couple of really minor details, sibilants and fricatives, which are just what you'd imagine them to be. A sibilant would be an S noise, a fricative would be a F or V, or anything where you're basically touching your lips to your teeth. Um, but these are sort of kind of minor nitpicky things that you can fix on a track really easily. Uh, so to start, let's go start with sibilance and listen to this track. Superman should really see a specialist for his severe case of syphilis. Now, if you notice, this is pretty exaggerated, but you will get some voices will have a tendency to accentuate these parts more than others. Now, the first thing we need to do is identify them. Just as we did with pops, we identify them by the squiggly lines. With sibilants, we identify them by these little furry little caterpillar things here. You notice there's one here, there's one here, there's one here, here, and here. Some of these are worse than others. You can tell the most egregious ones are here and here. Um, what I generally like to do, you can try deleting a portion of this. What I generally like to do is just go to Effect, after highlighting the area, Effect, Amplify, and just dropping the decibel level. Here the amplification in dB, just drop it maybe -5. That might be too much, actually, but we'll see what it sounds like. Just making the waveform more level all the way across helps immensely, I think. Superman should really see a specialist for his severe case of syphilis. I really think you'll notice it the most on this ending portion here. Now let's undo our changes and make a copy and redo our amplification drop and compare the two lines. Case of syphilis. Case of syphilis. And I think just lowering the sibilance in amplitude really helps with how it sounds in the end. Case of syphilis. Case of syphilis. It just sounds more natural to me. Now, this is like really minor nitpicking. In most cases, you won't even notice it. But there are some people who like to raise the treble on their track. I mean, they really. Sometimes maybe it's just the mic doesn't pick up treble well enough. But there's some people who just love treble. It's like, if you love it so much, why don't you marry it? And they do. They're married to the treble. So the problem is that has consequences, especially with sibilants, because sibilants are treble frequencies. So let's go ahead and raise the treble on this. If you remember from the pop episode, the treble frequencies are on the right of the graphic equalizer. So let's go ahead and just jack these up. Everything above 4,000 hertz. Let's kind of give it let's not be too drastic. Most people kind of like to raise the treble by making this little mountain here. See what happens. If you notice right away, our sibilants have drastically increased in size, almost to the point where they're clipping. Superman should really see a specialist for his severe case of syphilis. Now, just as we did before, what we would want to do is drop the amplification. So go to Effect, Amplify, and this will allow you to keep the treble raise on the rest of your track. If you really like raising the treble, you can keep it while still making your sibilants sound somewhat normal. So let's compare the two. Case of syphilis. Case of syphilis. And I might have overdid it there, but you see where I'm going with, as far as just trying to make it sound a little bit more natural. Maybe want to get it a little bit more exact. Oh, that was the earlier track. Case of syphilis. Case of syphilis. And just I might have overdone it on the back end here, but basically you could just sort of tweak it. But the idea is to lower the amplification, uh, just to get a more level and natural sounding track overall. And it's just certain people, like even myself, have more just naturally loud sibilants. The same is true even for vanilla characters. This is a vanilla track.
Not at all. I consider it a blessing.
Now, if you notice at the back end here, the blessing word was has a really loud sibilant.
Blessing.
Let's isolate that a little bit better.
Blessing.
And so, what I would have done if I was editing this track is just drop the amplification on these furry caterpillars here.
I consider it a blessing.
And overall, just make it a little bit more even so that the waveforms kind of line up. Ugh.
I consider it a blessing.
And I think it just sounds a little bit more natural. Now, the last thing we should talk about is fricatives. Just take a listen to this. Frank fucks Frankfurters. Now, if you notice, the F here is really prolonged and also contains a bit of spittle. That's common when you're saying the F word or any F word. You're gonna see these little jagged spittle portions here. That's probably more of a click. This one is definitely spittle. And so what you want to do is delete this whole entire section here. This is a really exaggerated F. It extends about 2 seconds. You want to leave the front end of the F and the back end of the F, because the back end is what connects it to the word Frankfurter, and the front end is basically the start. Everything in between is probably just unnecessary. So let's listen to it now. Frank fucks Frankfurters. And basically you eliminate that whole section in between. If we compare the two side by side. Fucks Frankfurters. Fucks Frankfurters. I think in general it just sounds a whole lot better. So that was sibilants and fricatives. Really self-explanatory. Just, keep the track level. Drop the sibilants if they're too loud using the amplify tool, and if you have spittle or anything else, just clicks and things caused by fricatives, you can just pretty much delete them. And that's it. Hopefully this episode was informative, and see you next week.